Saturday morning, Detective Kate arrived at the police station, still half asleep. She had just poured herself a cup of coffee when the phone rang. "Detective Kate, we have a report of a dead body at the Red Diamond nightclub. The caller says it's the owner, Mr. Smith." Kate's eyes widened as she grabbed her notebook. Mr. Smith was a powerful figure in the city's criminal underworld. She quickly finished her coffee and headed out the door, wondering what she would find at the scene. Detective Kate drove to the Red Diamond nightclub, her mind racing with questions. Who could have killed Mr. Smith? Was it a robbery gone wrong or something more sinister? She arrived at the club and saw a crowd of people outside. Some were crying, while others looked shocked. Kate pushed her way through the crowd and went inside. The club was dark and quiet, except for the sound of police radios and murmurs from the officers. Kate saw Mr. Smith's body on the floor, his eyes open and unblinking. She felt a shiver run down her spine. This was no ordinary murder. Mr. Smith was a powerful man with many enemies. Kate knew she had a long and difficult investigation ahead of her. As she began to examine the crime scene, Kate noticed a piece of paper near Mr. Smith's hand. She picked it up and read the message scrawled on it, "You will never catch me." Kate's eyes narrowed. This was no ordinary killer. They were clever and wanted to taunt the police. Kate put the paper in her pocket and continued to investigate. She knew every detail was crucial in solving this case. Detective Kate called her team to start processing the crime scene. They began collecting evidence, taking photos, and interviewing witnesses. Kate spoke to the club's staff and patrons, but no one seemed to have seen or heard anything suspicious. It was as if the killer had vanished into thin air. Kate knew that Mr. Smith's criminal empire was vast and complex, with many loyal followers and enemies. She suspected that the killer might be someone close to him, but she had no leads yet. As the investigation continued, Kate received a call from an anonymous source. "Detective Kate, I have information about Mr. Smith's murder," the voice said. "Meet me at the old warehouse on 5th and Main at midnight." Kate's instincts told her to be cautious, but she couldn't ignore the potential lead. She decided to go to the meeting, but she would go prepared and with backup. That night, Detective Kate arrived at the old warehouse, her gun drawn and her heart racing. She had brought 2 officers with her, and they positioned themselves outside, ready to intervene if necessary. Kate entered the warehouse, her flashlight shining on the dark and dusty space. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and gaunt, with sunken eyes. "Who are you?" Kate demanded. "My name is not important," the figure replied in a low voice. "But I know who killed Mr. Smith. It was his right-hand man, Alex. He had been planning to take over the empire for months." Kate's mind raced with this new information. She had suspected Alex, but she needed proof. "What evidence do you have?" she asked the mysterious figure. The figure handed her a folder containing a recording of Alex and Mr. Smith arguing, and a document showing a large transfer of funds from Mr. Smith's account to Alex's. Kate's eyes widened as she realized the significance of this evidence. Detective Kate's heart raced as she examined the evidence. This was the break she needed to crack the case. She thanked the mysterious figure and promised to keep their identity secret. As she left the warehouse, she couldn't help but wonder who this person was and what their motives were. The next day, Kate and her team brought Alex in for questioning. They confronted him with the evidence, and he eventually cracked under the pressure. He confessed to the crime, revealing a web of deceit and betrayal that went all the way to the top of Mr. Smith's empire. As Kate closed the case, she couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Justice had been served, and the city was a little bit safer. But she knew that this was just the beginning. Mr. Smith's empire was still out there, and she had a feeling that she would be dealing with the fallout for a long time to come. As Alex was taken away in handcuffs, Kate's team began to dismantle Mr. Smith's criminal empire. They arrested several high-ranking members and seized assets worth millions. But Kate knew that there were still many loose ends to tie up. She spent the next few weeks following up on leads and interviewing witnesses. One night, as she was leaving the station, she received a call from an unknown number. "Detective Kate, you may have won this battle, but the war is far from over," a menacing voice said. "Mr. Smith's empire will rise again, and you will be the one who falls." Kate's heart raced as she realized that the threat was far from over. She knew that she had to remain vigilant and continue to fight against the forces of darkness that lurked in the shadows of the city. Detective Kate increased her security measures, knowing that she had made some powerful enemies. She continued to investigate the remnants of Mr. Smith's empire, determined to bring everyone involved to justice. One night, as she was leaving the police station, she noticed a suspicious figure lurking in the shadows. She quickened her pace, but the figure kept pace with her. Kate's heart raced as she reached for her gun. Suddenly, the figure stepped forward, revealing a shocking identity. It was Sarah, Mr. Smith's own daughter. "You may have destroyed my father's empire," Sarah spat, "but you'll never destroy me." Kate was taken aback by Sarah's anger and determination. She realized that this was a new and dangerous adversary, one who would stop at nothing to avenge her father's death. Sarah's eyes blazed with a fierce intensity, her voice dripping with venom. "You think you've won, Detective Kate, but you've only just begun to play the game. I will make sure you pay for what you've done." Kate stood her ground, her hand on her gun. "Sarah, stop this now. You're not your father. You don't have to follow in his footsteps." Sarah laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. "You don't know me, Detective. I am my father's daughter, and I will do whatever it takes to protect his legacy." With that, she turned and disappeared into the night, leaving Kate with a sense of unease. She knew that Sarah was a dangerous foe, and that this was far from over. Detective Kate knew she had to act fast. She couldn't let Sarah carry out her threats and put more lives in danger. She called her team and put out an APB on Sarah, but she knew it might not be enough. As she drove home that night, she noticed a black sedan following her. She sped up, but the sedan kept pace with her. Kate's heart raced as she realized she was being targeted. Suddenly, the sedan swerved and tried to run her off the road. Kate expertly maneuvered her car to avoid the attack, but she knew she couldn't outrun them forever. Just as she was about to call for backup, the sedan vanished into thin air. Kate breathed a sigh of relief, but she knew this was only the beginning. Sarah was playing a dangerous game, and Kate was determined to put an end to it once and for all. Detective Kate arrived at the police station, shaken but determined. She gathered her team and laid out a plan to take down Sarah and her accomplices. They spent the next few hours gathering evidence and tracking down leads. Finally, they got a tip about Sarah's whereabouts. Kate and her team moved in, surrounding the building where Sarah was hiding. As they entered the building, Kate saw Sarah standing in the shadows, a sly smile spreading across her face. "You'll never take me alive," Sarah sneered. Kate approached her calmly, her gun drawn. "It's over, Sarah. Let it go." Sarah snarled, pulling out a gun. Kate reacted quickly, disarming her and pinning her to the ground. As she looked into Sarah's eyes, she saw the anger and hatred fade away, replaced by a glimmer of tears. "It's over," Kate said softly, as she handcuffed Sarah. "It's finally over." As Kate took Sarah away, she felt a sense of closure wash over her. The case was finally solved, and justice had been served. But as she looked into Sarah's eyes, she saw something that gave her pause. Sarah's gaze was no longer full of anger and hatred, but of sadness and regret. Kate realized that Sarah had been a pawn in her father's game, just like many others. In that moment, Kate felt a pang of compassion for Sarah. She knew that she would have to face the consequences of her actions, but Kate also hoped that she would find redemption and start anew. The trial of Sarah and the remaining members of Mr. Smith's empire was a long and grueling process. But in the end, justice was served. Sarah was sentenced to prison, but Kate made sure that she received a fair sentence, considering her cooperation and the circumstances. As Kate watched Sarah being led away in handcuffs, she felt a sense of closure. The case was finally over, and the city could start to heal. Years later, Kate received a visit from a woman she barely recognized. It was Sarah, released from prison and determined to make amends for her past. Kate was hesitant at first, but as she looked into Sarah's eyes, she saw the sincerity and determination there. Sarah had spent her time in prison reflecting on her actions and had come out a changed person. She was determined to use her experiences to help others and make a positive impact on the world. Kate was moved by Sarah's transformation and decided to give her a second chance. She became a mentor to Sarah, helping her navigate the complexities of life after prison. And so, the story of Mr. Smith and his empire became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of corruption and the power of redemption.